You're listening to Civic Media. You can tune into any of our live shows on any radio station across the state with the Civic Media app. Find us in your phone's app store and listen anytime, anywhere.
And good evening and welcome to another edition of the Big High School Sports Show presented by K5 Construction on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. Again, K5 Construction is a family-owned and operated custom builder in central Wisconsin that stands out from the rest for its commitment to quality and excellence. From design and planning to the final construction, K5 Construction delivers superior results on every project. With Jeff Gress, I'm Chad Holmes. Into the month of March, into the final few weeks of this show as we get closer and closer to the end. But tonight we have plenty to talk about. Playoffs underway in boys and girls basketball, heading to the state tournament in hockey. We'll talk about everything that is going on, plus special guests. Coming up at 6:25, we'll be joined by DC Everest boys basketball coach Oliver Drake. Evergreens playing some good ball coming down the stretch. Big win against Wausau East to close out their regular season, and now they have a very interesting regional semifinal coming up on Friday night at Wausau West. So we'll talk about what's been a bit of an up and down season, some adversity to have to go through, but right now it looks like a DC Everest team playing pretty solid. We'll talk to Oliver Drake about that coming up at 6:25, and then our student athlete guest coming up at 7:06. A young man that is heading to the state hockey tournament down in the Madison area. Wausau West has earned their first trip to state in 6 years, and we'll talk about it with their senior defenseman, Drake Kuharski. That's coming up at 7:06. So a couple of good guests coming up here on the Big High School Sports Show. Jeff Gress, welcome back.
It's always good to be here. It's a sad time of year, though. You love I love the anticipation of the playoffs and all the state tournament stuff that's coming up, but as you look on our sheets, the notes get shorter and shorter.
They just drop off
because not everybody's going to stay in it. So again, get out and watch that great action whenever you can.
Let's start off by just putting a finishing touch on the regular season when it came to the area conferences that we follow. Wisconsin Valley Conference, we knew last week it would be Marshfield, and Marshfield finishes 12-0 in the conference. 18-6 overall. Stevens Point, despite being swept by both Marshfield and Wausau West, they fought their way back to finish second at 8-4, 16-8 on the season going into the postseason. DC Everest and Wausau West tie for third in the conference. Everest 13-11, Wausau West 17-7. Wausau East fifth in the conference, 5-7 in the league. Lumberjacks 16-7 overall. That means they're 11-0 in non-conference play. Merrill 2-10 in the conference. They are now 11-14 overall. They've already played a playoff game. And Wisconsin Rapids 1-11 in the conference, and they are 3-22 overall. And we'll talk about the playoff games involving Merrill and Wisconsin Rapids coming up. But in the final night of the regular season in the Valley, DC Everest, I thought, again, a very impressive win to wrap it up, beating East 88-67 at the Everest Fieldhouse. Kate Felch, 30 points. Casey Studeman, 24. I would not have thought that Kate Felch would have topped his big night against Wausau West earlier, but he did so against Wausau East, and a very impressive win for DCE.
Yeah, and if you've seen Felch play in any of the games, you're just able to hit that outside shot. If he gets a little bit of room and with his height, he's able to shoot higher than some of the guards he has on him sometimes. And, a guy that can really fill it up. Game changers from beyond that arc sometimes. You can't leave them open. And for Everest, we talked about with injuries and getting your feet bat the way you want on the floor. Sometimes it just takes some time and you want to hit your groove. And I think, we'll talk about it later, but I think that's going to be a really fun game tomorrow night over at West. And for East, they've had some sickness too. So trying to get their feet back, worked hard, got that number one seed for their playoff sectional. And out of concert out of the conference play now, and that stuff's over. Just looking to bounce back and get their W in the first round of the playoffs for them.
Also, Wausau West finished up their conference campaign with a very impressive night. The Warriors had been struggling a little bit ever since Nico Federici went down and kind of changed up their starting lineup, but looked like they found their groove again. Really solid 60-32 win against Merrill. Bennett Matson hit 8 of 9 field goals, had 17 points in the game. Karji Cooper 14, Griffin Lang 12. And it was a much-needed win in the way they did it. And talking to a few folks after the game, one said, found their groove again. Again, it had been a little bit of a struggle, but to get that kind of win going into the playoffs, going into a tough playoff game against Everest, I thought a very important game. You look at it, well, last game of the regular season, how much it was on it. I thought it was vitally important for them to play well, and they did.
And as coaches and players, that you want to find your niche and be at your best of what it can be in that moment, whether that's putting up more points or being just real strong on the defensive end. So it's a hard thing for a confidence factor, I think, when teams are in a game and you're not playing as well or things are going, uglier than you want during that basketball game. So there is that point where you can look back and say, yeah, that we hit our mark. We wanted to do what we did in that basketball game. And from what you've shared, it sounds like West did that. And that's, again, another team playing through a player that's out for the season that when they were at their best, he was a big part of that. And that tweaks and changes. And sometimes it just, there's an adjustment factor there. And it's never as fast as you want when these kids go down through injury or sickness, and then teams are battling back and coaches and players are working hard to hit their groove. So again, adds more interest to the game tomorrow night again Friday night when they're playing.
I let you get away with it once.
I know. Sorry, I'm getting I'm getting ready for. I'm excited. I want to see some of those games. So.
And Marshfield did finish off their conference campaign 84-44 against Wisconsin Rapids, and we'll be talking about the playoffs, the regionals coming up later in the show. But for Marshfield, 6-6 in non-conference, 12-0 in conference. I'm very curious to see how they do in the postseason.
Yeah, that's a factor where. They played good teams. One of the losses that I saw was to Neenah. I mean, it's a good basketball team they played there, but that is the kind of a standard you set for yourself once you jump into these playoffs. If you don't see any of the teams in your conference, how are you going to do against them? And a 500 record might be fine and it might not, but I still think with Marshfield, just the balanced lineup they have. They have height, they have guard play. They play their style, but I've also seen them adjust on the fly as they need to be competitive with these teams. And everybody, it's a lot of pressure when you hear people even up here by us saying, this is their year. This is your year to go. So they hear that same thing, but I also know I'm sure they have the standards they set and the goals they want to hit. So I think it'll be interesting to watch them down the stretch. They're a good basketball team. We'll see how far they get.
Great Northern Conference, and in the end, a very interesting title race. And in the end, it's Rhinelander 10-2, 18-5 overall. Medford and Mosinee finished tied for second at 9-3 in the league, 13-10 for the Raiders, 17-7 for Mosinee. Northern Pines 6-6, fourth place in the conference, 14-10 overall. Antigo 4-8, 11-14. Lakeland 4-8, 10-15. Tomahawk 0-12, 4-21. But Rhinelander did the job the last 2 weeks. They beat Mosinee at home in a tight game, and then they win on the road against Medford Friday, 51-43. And really, I mean, they earned that championship.
Yeah, you got to give them credit on how they finished the stretch of the season. Them and Mosinee is always a battle and never an easy game, and they obviously got that W. And then we've talked about how hard it is to play at Medford over the years, even whether Medford's top-of-line team in the conference or kind of hanging at that third, fourth place spot. Earlier on, they've been at the top the last couple of years. Just a tough place to play. And Medford was playing better ball in the conference games, too, over the last half of the season. So for Rhinelander, we talked off air. You said the comment, they just find a way to get it done. And they've done that a number of times now, where 10-2 overall and 18-5 mark, number 2 seed in the playoffs. Well earned and well deserved. And we'll see. They've got some comparable games on the team they're going to face that beat Lakeland to start the first round of the playoffs.
Mosinee did finish off the season with a 69-51 win against Lakeland. And again, that's a Mosinee team that's got a mix of some youth and some others as well. But I'm curious to see how they do in the postseason. I mean, obviously, They've had a sophomore that's played exceptionally well. It's always interesting to see when you have one of your leaders in terms of filling the stat sheet being somebody that is an underclassman. I mean, that's a little bit of a different dynamic, isn't it?
Yeah, and you often wonder because, as hard as those sophomores are and younger players are always trying to win every game, they still have time. It's seniors that I think, they're on borrowed minutes and they don't want to go out. So you often wonder if that's not your dominant role from some of your upperclassmen, where does that weigh out in the course of a game of not letting anything slip away or having anything taken for granted? And again, Mosinee, they're at a 4 seed. I think that's going to be a tough matchup for teams with them. They've had a lot of success, and even this season, 9-3 mark in the conference and 17 wins to date. So I think their physicality, their quickness. They have a lot of strength on that team, and I think they're going to be a formidable foe whoever they have to play down the stretch.
And they got kids at 3 double-digit scores. Braden Reinke, the sophomore, who we talked about, double machine during the season. They got Treve Stoffel, who's a terrific athlete at more than 14 per game. Carson Balgord as well. And then they got Sebastian Anderson, 8.5 points per game. I would think as a 4 seed, yeah. It's always it's interesting now how those brackets do drop, because you would think that Mosinee would be there with East and Rhinelander, but they're not.
Right.
And I think it's again tougher for them. I think
moved them to the west side of the state a little more.
But it just feels like, for the regional, you would have thought they would have been right there with some of their conference brethren and the Lumberjacks as well. But we'll see how they do.
And I think there's 2 sides to that, because I think that's where we've usually seen them slated in the last couple of years. I don't know. You'd have to ask Coach Lindsay, but for some coaches, they like to, you ask the Merriwood South guys, they probably like to get away from each other a little bit here, because it just pops up every time. So I think sometimes it's nice, whether even it may get a little more challenging than the old bracket you've been in or not. And I think, Mosinee too, I've only seen Reinke play on like highlights on the news, but doesn't look quite like a sophomore out there. He looks like a little older, the way he plays, the way he carries himself. So good basketball team. It'll be interesting to see where they end up as the games progress from one week to the next.
Merriwood South, a very interesting finish to the season, as coming from behind, like the Kentucky Derby with Stratford, and they were a length behind, and they finish a length ahead as they win it, 14-2 in the conference, 22-2 overall. Auburndale second at 13-3, 21-3. Marathon 12-4, 16-8. Assumption 8-8, 10-15. Edgar 7-9, 11-14. Newman Catholic 2-14, 4-21. The interesting games were the Stratford game and the Auburndale game on Thursday. They both came in tied. Auburndale at home, Stratford on the road, but the home team, Auburndale, lost the Marathon 68-58. Marathon jumped out to a 15-point lead at halftime, 38-23. Drew Wolfel, 21. Drew Thurs, 17. Marathon was red hot from the field, 25 of 46 on field goals, 9 of 17 on threes. I mean, those are tough numbers to overcome.
Right, and that's I think when we watched Marathon play Assumption, the strength of their game was when they went inside against that zone. So for that, if they can duplicate what they do in the inside and make it match up around the arc like they did in the game, they're a dangerous team. They have a couple guys, hanging at that 11-point mark, another guy at 8-9 points. So they get the scoring as they need. They play strong defense. I think nice way to go into the playoffs with that win on the road in Auburndale, especially for what was 6. Marathon was just trying to finish with the best record they can. They couldn't have caught those 2 teams at the top at that point. And so for them to finish out in that game is a big deal. And I think Coach Schmidt owes Coach Jacobson a couple beers on that one.
And we'll talk later when we get to the brackets, but Marathon could be right back there on Saturday. So, I mean, obviously very interesting setup to what could be a sequel coming up on Saturday night. But Stratford took care of business, and we saw it where Assumption is very tough on their home court. But Stratford was able to do what they needed to do, clinch the conference title outright, 68-51 over Assumption.
Yeah, nice in an overall finish with 22-2, 14-2, and Stratford just kind of that steady machine. They just keep coming. There's never, we hear of Brucewitz a lot as the leading score, but not over the top. Like, oh, this is, it's they get it done. They play hard-nosed defense on one end. They execute. And I've always thought Coach Schmidt does just a great job of getting kids in scoring position based on their individual abilities. And that's not easy to do when you got 5 kids at a given time out there, not including the guys that are going to rotate in off the bench and move around. So for them, I thought just they did it, went over to Assumption, which isn't an easy place to play, especially as Assumption's been playing a little better, got an extra pep in their step with confidence-wise. And Stratford, finishes out the season real strong to kind of swoop in there and take that conference lead.
And let's look at the CWC North real quickly, because there was one interesting game in that one as Tigerton finished perfect, 10-0. Then Northland Lutheran and White Lake at 7-3. But Tigerton went to Northland Thursday, won 73-55. And now those teams will meet again on Friday night in the playoff round, but this time in Tigerton. How do you look at that? Because obviously Tigerton, and you talked about it, you know the coach back in his days at Pittsville, very impressive. As Northland now, how do you look at that? Because we see in the past, I mean, we talked about the hockey example where Chippewa Falls lost to Stevens Point in the regular season 8-0. They went on the road and then pulled off the biggest upset of the season. Is it true when they say the playoffs are a new season?
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly and 100%. It's tough to beat a team 3 times, too. Whether you just never know. Is Northern Lutheran going to throw a little wrinkle in that you haven't seen? Something that you're like, our kids, we didn't even practice against that. They're threw a 5th defense in that we didn't know they could play. Or is it just going to be a will of the kids where one group shoots better, one group has less turnovers? I think, without seeing Tigerton play, I just think based on that game's going to be a little bit tougher in the sense that it's a playoff game and it's a new season. And as the Northland Lutheran program, if I'm coaching those guys, I'm like, those other 2 games are out the door. This is a brand new game, and all the pressure is on them because they've had a better record. They've beaten us twice, and you get them to try to play as loose as they can and let the other team tense up, and that's when you can close that gap and maybe steal one you're not supposed to, especially on the road.
Does playoff pressure? You said it, where a team has that pressure of being a favorite. Is that real? You've been around the game for such a long time. Is that real? Does that change a matchup last week in the regular season compared to a matchup this week where there's a different kind of pressure?
It totally depends on what the kids can take. I remember groups I've had, and as a coach, we tried to totally take off any pressure from any angle they could possibly have. But then we play at home against in the first round of playoffs against a team we beat twice, and it would take. I think it just takes you longer to maybe wear them down because we couldn't get rid of them before half like we wanted to. We had to do that in the second half and make some adjustments. And sometimes you never know. You don't have a good shooting night. Somebody goes down. Somebody comes in sick under the. There's so many circumstances, and these are high school athletes. Sometimes you can't always, they're already thinking for themselves on a lot of things. So how much direction and correction you can give at that point, you just got to get them to understand how important the moment is, and you don't want to go with any regrets. And I think you take that angle, you can have good things happen. But there is definitely playoff pressure in many different ways for both teams at that point.
And before we take a timeout, let's talk about the standings, the final standings in the Merriwood North and the CWC North. Merriwood North, Rib Lake won it, 12-4, 18-7. Phillips second, 9-7, 17-8. Prentice 8-8, 14-8. Athens 7-9, 8-17. Abbotsford 3-13, 9-16. Shawamigan 1-15, 3-22. And the CWC East, Bonduelle finished perfect in the conference, 14-0. They may have had that one loss that you'd like to have before the playoffs, right. 23-1. Iola and Wittenberg finished 11-3 in the conference. Shiocton 8-6. Menominee Nation 5-9. Wyowega Fremont 4-10. Amherst 2-12. Manawa 1-13. Anything you want to add for those 2 conferences before we close the book on the regular season?
No, I'm interested to see where Rib Lake goes. They're a solid team. They started their first round in the playoffs, which we'll talk about a little later, and did well. They solidified the conference. It was already in the books for them, but they held their own again over on the road against Phillips, which I think is a nice win to go to the next team down and on the road in their place and go get one. And for Wittenberg, I'm curious what they have. We've seen they got that must win they needed last Thursday against Manawa by 20, and then their playoffs. I think with those Wittenberg, they get Freedom and Wrightstown and some of these teams we have at least I don't have any idea what they're about, but I always know they're a formidable foe for that conference when they go that direction a little bit. It's starting to head into the valley. So I think that it'll be interesting to see where they fall in suit once the playoffs start for them.
Coming up a little bit later on, we will look at the regional playoffs in boys basketball. We'll talk about what happened in the regionals and look at the sectionals on the girls' side. And also we'll talk about the sectional finals in hockey and look ahead to the state tournament as well. In fact, we'll talk about hockey and state with our student-athlete guest, Drake Kuharski from Wausau West at 7:06. But coming up in a minute, we'll have our coach guest for this week from DC Everest, boys basketball coach Oliver Drake. That's coming up next. The Big High School Sports Show, presented by K5 Construction on 98.9 WXCO. For the first time in 6 years, the Wausau West hockey team is at the state tournament. On Friday afternoon, the Warriors will hit the ice against two-time defending Division I state champion Notre Dame Academy in a state semifinal. Hear all the exciting action live on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app, starting with the pregame show at 1:35 and the opening face-off at 2 p.m. Wausau West hockey from the state tournament is brought to you by Four Seasons Go, the Wausau Cyclones, Mike Whitmore Construction, Mosinee Family Chiropractic, the Cloverbell Credit Union, Red Robin Restaurants, Sun Printing, the Wausau West Athletic Department, Coast to Coast Marketing, and the Wausau West Hockey Booster Club. It's Wausau West versus Notre Dame Academy in a Division I hockey state semifinal. Friday, starting with the pregame show at 1:35 on 98.9 WXCO. And welcome back. Big High School Sports Show presented by K5 Construction, a family-owned and operated custom builder in central Wisconsin that stands out from the rest for its commitment to quality and excellence. From design and planning to the final construction, K5 Construction delivers superior results on every project. With former Newman Catholic head boys basketball coach Jeff Gress, I'm Chad Holmes. I'm very happy to welcome in our coach guest for this week, head boys basketball coach at DC Everest, Oliver Drake. And Coach, thanks for coming on the program.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys, and appreciate all you guys do to shed light on so many great high school athletes in our area. Really appreciate what you guys do.
Oh, very nice of you to say, and great to have you back to talk some hoops, especially this week with such a big game to start off the playoffs on Friday night. But looking at Everest and kind of umbrella this with your conference as well, because coming into this year, the Wisconsin Valley Conference was looked at, I think, as deep as it's been in a number of years. DC Everest, one of those teams expected to be among the top teams in the Valley. But then you lose one of your top performers early. You have a bit of an up and down, I think, start to the year, but then have been building as we got into 2025. As you look at the season itself, what were the expectations coming in? How were they changed maybe early? And what has this roller coaster ride been like over the last number of months?
Well, yeah, I think you summed it up. It's definitely been a roller coaster, but our expectations, regardless of who we have on the court, are to compete and to be thankful for our opportunities and just be a team that's connected and to really look back on things with no regrets. And then, the outcomes, you don't have control over that, but you certainly have control of the way you work, the way you treat each other, the way you compete. And I think our guys did a really, really nice job of it. You've touched on it. We've certainly had our fair share of adversity with Cohen Preby getting hurt in the state semifinal game. Again, it's been a three-time second-team All-Conference Wisconsin Valley guy that's put in tons of work behind the scenes. And that's where life isn't fair. And certainly Cohen got dealt a bad deck, but he responded the right way. And I think you're going to see our team play the best when it matters most. And that's ultimately the goal for every team. So you kind of throw out the records this time of year, and you want to be playing your best basketball, and we certainly think we're doing that.
And Coach, what do you've obviously had a ton of time, as all coaches do in their programs, to analyze your team, analyze your players, see everything you want to see through game film, practice time, and whatever else observations that you make. Your team right now, where they're at, what do you think is the strength of Everest basketball going in the game Friday night against West?
Well, I think if you look at analytically, our offense is pretty efficient. I mean, we're a team that shoots well over 50% from the field, over 40% from the three-point line, and over 70-some% as a team from the free throw line. So, those are a lot of numbers that a lot of college teams would love to have, and our points per possession are way over 1 point per possession. So offensively, we're really connected. We've kind of tweaked some things about mid-year and kind of working more through Casey Studeman in the post. And as you guys know, the more you play inside out in this game, the better your offense becomes. I think earlier in the year, we just didn't establish post play like we are now, and that post play working through Studeman and Edwards and Truex has really just settled things in for us. And the way you couple that with the way we shoot the ball, that's definitely our strength right now, which is a great thing. When you make shots, everything else is better.
And Coach, this is once Chad told me you were going to be on the show the other day, and then obviously we had happened today with the snow day. What happened? I got to ask, because I remember one time we had a day we just wanted to get together, and it was actually the next day was one of our first round playoff games, and we ended up watching a basketball movie because we couldn't do much else at one of our assistant coaches' houses, and then to work on a play we wanted to do, we're outside in like 20 below weather doing a play in his driveway, just walking through it because it was the only space we had. So what do you do on a day like today where you want to keep your kids or what's your ideas of what you can accomplish on a snow day when not much can happen in terms of continuing that you guys just to keep playing and getting to the level you want to get to and keep the car moving in the right direction? What do you guys do today to fill that void when you can't do what you do on a normal day because you have school and practice?
Well, number one, our guys got an opportunity to sleep in, and that's always a great thing when you're dealing with, 15 to 18-year-olds. Some extra sleep never hurts them. So number one, they all got to sleep in. I'm sure their feelings were not hurt. They got the message that we did not have school. So, but on a serious note, we have outstanding administration here at DC Everest from the top all the way down, and they always, it's depending on the weather, we can make a practice optional.
Okay.
Obviously, we number one want to keep our kids safe, and if the roads, aren't an option, then obviously people are going to step in and say no evening activities. But we did have an optional shorter practice tonight. And here's the deal: is a lot of people, practice is important, but by this time in the year, you are what you are, and It's about staying sharp. It's about making sure your guys feel good when it matters most, and some extra rest. Lighten up on their legs a little bit. The older I've gotten, and Coach, I've been doing this for some time. The more I understand less is more, especially this time of year. So snow day on this day isn't the end of the world. Again, what do we control? How can we respond to it? And how can we make the most of it? And I think we made the most of it today with optional practice and just getting the guys together and getting them some extra rest. That never hurts this time of year.
To pick your brain on a comment you made talking about your season in terms of the adjustment, maybe looking more inside. I remember watching early in the season. I was watching a game you had against Eau Claire North, and there were moments in that game, it's like I'm thinking, wow, because you guys were hitting a lot of shots that day, hitting a lot from the outside the arc. And sometimes it could be real easy, especially in this era where you use the analytics to try to get the 3-point field goal in terms of the points and per possession and all of that. What was the thought process of trying to tweak a little bit? Because I think you have a really impressive young man in Studeman, and I've seen him a couple of times as well, that he can be a very tough matchup. Talk about that the process of within your mind to try and maybe tweak it to make your overall offense a little bit better.
Well, I think as a coach, your number one job is to always constantly analyze, are we putting our players in positions to succeed and to be the best versions of themselves? And we had Casey kind of in what's called a pinch post, and we were running some Princeton options out of that. And we kind of had him out away from the basket. And the more I watched, I couldn't understand why we weren't getting him more looks. And sometimes you as coach got to step back and just say, well, we got to get him where he likes it the most. And so, you have those conversations with kids. Hey, Casey, in an ideal situation, where do you want to catch the ball? And so, we had a good conversation, he and I, and he kind of mentioned where he liked to catch it at. And I was like, well, that's an easy solution. So he kind of morphed into more of a 4-out one, and with still some Princeton concepts, with still a lot of movement. But I'm kind of old school. I just think post play is a difference maker, and I really think post play and postseason is the most important thing you can have, because, as you guys know, some nights, no matter how hard you try, that ball will not go in from the perimeter. But the ball typically does go in when you get high percentage shots and free throws. And I think the easiest way to do that is to establish post play. And ultimately, post play makes your three-point shooters that much better too, because an inside-out three is always going to go in at a higher rate. So I think it's just you as a coach, asking yourself, are you putting your guys in the best position? And I think when I asked myself and our coaching staff asked ourselves that, I don't think we were putting them in the best position. So just kind of, constantly having conversations with your guys and asking them where they want the ball most. And because Studeman's a difference maker. I mean, he'll have, there's nights, he had double-digit points the other night, 10 rebounds and 9 assists. And that's really hard to do in a high school game or in any game. And that's who he is. And I'm just glad we finally woke up as coaches and got him the ball, where he works best. And that's made a huge difference with us coming down the stretch here.
And Coach, I love high school sports. I love what it's all about. And the saddest thing for me is when players good kids and good players can't be there when it's out of their control because of an injury. And so I was just curious, because you've seen it happen, and until you're in the midst of it with that player, your program and your coaches, you see it all with how Cohen Preby came back and what he's doing. And I saw a little bit of your East game the other night, and he's out there just working his tail off. And when he was on the show, he shared it with us. Yeah, I feel good, but I still just feel like it's not, he wants it to be perfect for him, and it's still not, but the kid's battling through it and working his tail off. Can you talk a little bit about the process? Because it's, number one, if you're a player, you're great to be around your buddies, but sitting there watching all the excitement, the fun, and you can't go out there physically, it's got to drive you bonkers. As a coach, the process probably never moves fast enough, but you understand that you want the kid at their best for as long as they can, at the end of the season. So I don't know, a little bit about, through your eyes, what you saw in this time to get him set and ready, and how your teams responded to all that.
Well, Cohen handled it better than I could at 46. I can tell you that. It was just a tough deal. With 6 minutes left in a state semifinal football game, returning a kick and coming up hobbling, and the next thing I know, I see him on the training table, and the next thing I know, I see him on crutches. And this worst case scenario, right? It's a kid who's lives and dies for basketball, has put in a ton of work behind the scenes. Had a great summer. Leading us. We had a really good summer as a team, and we're really primed to, I think, compete at a really, really high level. And then here's what I'll tell you about Cohen, is we do some volunteer work with Green Heck, running a recreation basketball program for pre-K through second graders on Saturday mornings. And he was injured, hobbled, and where did he show up the next Saturday morning? To volunteer. And so if you want to talk about a kid who gets the bigger picture, understands pouring into other people, and the quickest way to get out of adversity, or the quickest way to flip adversity, is to pour into others. And Cohen did that at the highest level. He has continued to do that all the way through. And what we talked to Cohen about is just give yourself some grace. As you come back, the toughest thing from an injury is you think you're going to be back at the level that you left. And you never will be. I don't care if you're Kevin Durant coming off an Achilles or Cohen Preby coming off a foot injury. You're not going to be the same right away. So give yourself grace. Understand you've done everything the right way. Enjoy it. Enjoy every second of it. And our team has really picked up since he's been back. And he may not feel completely because he was out for so long, but I'll tell you, his impact has been unbelievable. Whether he was on the floor, off the floor, in a cast, on crutches, or in two shoes, he's had a phenomenal impact on our program. We couldn't be more proud of the way he responded to it.
Again, we're talking to Oliver Drake, head boys basketball coach at DC Everest Senior High School here on 98.9 WXCO. One thing that kind of jumps out about your team is different guys can step up, and saw it in person twice, where the first time you played Wausau West, Cade Felch came out there and had a first half to remember. And then the second time around, it's Xavier Edwards putting up 32. In fact, I was looking at some of the numbers for your team. You have 7 different players that scored at least 17 points in a game. Obviously, you got a lot of different guys that are capable of putting that ball in the hole and a lot of different options offensively, don't you?
Yeah, we do, and Cade Felch has been a guy that we knew. He's played since his freshman year. He's a guy just behind the scenes is working all the time and is super coachable. And that's always a recipe. When you're super coachable and you have great work ethic, you are going to continue to get better. And so Cade just got invited to the WIA 3-point challenge. He's the second-rated shooter. 3-point shooter in the entire Division I. So he's been invited to Madison to take part in that. And certainly against West the first time, he got loose a couple times. And when he gets loose, I'm surprised when he misses. I mean, that's just how good of a shooter he is, and that's how much work he's put in. But he's more than that. He now can attack the basket. He can post up. He's becoming a real smart defender for us. And then you talked about Xavier Edwards, and both Xavier and Cade were named second team Wisconsin Valley Conference all-conference this past week. And Xavier, they decided to not guard him from the 3-point line, and you can do that, but because Xavier's such a good driver getting downhill, but he's a good enough shooter that if you just leave him, and I can't remember, he may have had 5 or 6 threes in that game. So we've seen a couple different looks from West, and certainly, like you said, we have 7 different guys, and on any given night can lead us in scoring. I think that makes us pretty hard to prepare from an offensive standpoint. And both Xavier and Cade have had phenomenal junior seasons for us. And when Cohen was down, it really, we needed those two to step up and take that next step in their growth process, and they've certainly done that.
And Coach, I always like to get Coach's opinion. You start the playoffs, you're gonna see a team you've already seen twice. Coaches have different attitude towards it. Like, some are like, yeah, the kids are ready. Some of the stuff is they just have to be ready to go. And who can shoot better? Who can play a little bit better defense? Who came ready to play? Who's not turning the ball over as much? And then other coaches, try to take a lot of pressure off it. And Chad and I were talking in the first segment a little bit, how much playoff pressure is there and what exists there for each team it can sometimes be 2 different tracks that they want to take. What will be your thought process maybe in how you want your team to start the playoffs, as well as what your message might be to them as you start that new season up come Friday night?
Yeah, I think our message is always the same. One of the core values we want our guys to play with and live their life with, while they're with us, just thankfulness. You break it down to how cool is this? We get to go across town, take on Wausau West, first round of the playoffs, a Wausau West team that I think has played some unbelievable basketball. That's tough, that's connected, that's hard-nosed, a team that obviously we're familiar with. They're familiar with us. Some nights on that opening night, you got to take a 2.5, 3-hour bus ride, when you're a lower seed, and we don't have to do that. It's almost in essence like another home game for us. But it's going to be an absolute war. And what we want our guys to do is just be thankful that they get this opportunity. And I think if you live your life with thankfulness, you're going to attack your opportunities. And so I just want our guys to enjoy every second of it. I don't think there's any pressure, it's not like there is no pressure. And I just think it's all about opportunity, and how you frame that. So we're looking at it as an awesome opportunity to compete against a really good Wausau West team. Should be a great atmosphere for high school hoops in our area. And one we're really, really thankful that we get the opportunity to do. And we look forward to a really, really tough challenge.
I'll have a question or two about that in a moment. But I wanted to, before we totally focus on the playoffs, what about the Valley this year? You've now been around this conference for a few years. What was your take on the WVC in terms of its depth this year?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up. Mark Miller from the Wisconsin Basketball Yearbook, who I think probably knows Wisconsin basketball better than anybody. He's probably forgotten more about Wisconsin high school basketball than any of us have ever known. We were playing in the Wisconsin Basketball Yearbook camp down in Plymouth, and we had that same conversation. And he thought in his recent memory that this was the deepest the Wisconsin Valley's ever been from quality, top to bottom. And so, every coach in every conference, every league always says our conference is unbelievable, but I think it's backed up with what our teams did this year out of conference. And most importantly, I hope it really gets backed up when it matters most, and that's playoff time. So I think it's been unbelievable. Obviously, Marshall ran away with it. I just think their two guards, Brooks Hinson and Landon Lee, are just, to have a high school backcourt so connected, so skilled, so tough. I mean, it's just an extension of their coaches out on the floor 24/7, and then you couple that up with their size in their front line with the two junior kids with Ramberg and Poles, and it just a tough matchup. And so they certainly ran away with it, but then, you kind of go second through, Point got us and West by a game, but West swept Point. Obviously, we had some good games with both those teams, and then you look at East, who's a number one seed in Division II, and they had a sub 500 record, and obviously they had Nepgezik out a little bit, and you saw when you have your best player out how hard it is to win in our conference. But I think it just shows to the depth of that our, fifth place team is a number one seed in Division II basketball, and has, arguably one of the best players in the area, Nepgezik, who's signed to go NCAA Division II, and has a Division I football kid on their front line, and another college kid in Garrett in their backcourt. And that team was sub 500 in our league. So I think that says more about the quality of our league. And we just really good kids, really skilled, really, really good coaching, great communities, great school districts. Just a fun league to compete in. And it's certainly fun looking back on it. Not always fun in the moments, but it was a really fun league to be a part of this year.
And Coach, just staying in the conference for a second. Do you feel like? So I watched a little bit of the East Everest game, not as intently as I wanted, as my son's an 8th grader in my math class, and he constantly was asking me questions of how to do it after he was sitting in that school day with me learning the lesson. So I was interrupted at times to say I have a perfect opinion on it, far from that. But I did see, it was, you made a little run, East came a little bit back, then you made a little run, they came back, and then, middle or midway point of the second half a little bit, you guys got that cushion, that lead, and held it, is what I remember happening in that game. Was that a culmination of a really good spot to be in, leading in these playoffs, where in control against a very good basketball team, and things are just rolling at home? Was that your take? Kind of a good feeling right there at that moment that things are starting to gel. Now we got all the guys back, and we're hitting our stride, full out running into the playoffs here.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly feel that way, but it's one thing to feel it; it's another thing to do it. So we certainly feel we're trending in the direction of, every year there's a team in the playoffs that kind of muck their way through the regular season, for whatever reason, and they just figure things out at the right time. I really feel like we're trending in that direction. But again, if we don't come strapped up and ready to go Friday night at West, it will be done. So, we understand, we're certainly trending in the right direction. I think East game was a prime example of that. I think some of our other games, we've had stretches, but we haven't put a full game together like we did against East. I think the 4 seniors we have, Chase Pavlovich, Brennan Peterson, Cohen Prevey, Casey Studeman, I think the finality of all this is starting to creep into their minds, and I think we're starting to see a little more urgency. And when you get urgency in the right areas, that becomes production, and that's what we saw in the East game. Just a little more urgent, just a little more edge, just a little more competitive spirit. And so, yes, I would agree with you. I think we're trending in the right direction, but we're cautiously optimistic because we know what's in front of us. We know how good Wausau West is. We know, we need to be dialed in or it's going to be short-lived. So, but to answer your question, yeah, we're very, very excited about the direction, but we know we better be ready to go.
And I guess one final question I have, I like to ask coaches, beyond what is happening at the very moment, how would you characterize the state of the program? Do you feel as though from the top, from the varsity right down through the rest of the program, how do you feel DC Everest basketball is right now?
Well, it's our third year, and we've looked at our program from a 3rd through 12th grade. So we've really try to build a skill-based program. And that's hard because so much is result-oriented, even at your youngest levels, right? It's human nature to worry about wins and losses. But what we try to build is one program, 3rd through 12th grade, one that supports each other, one that's all about building things the right way. And I think to build a program the right way, it has to be skill-based. This is not a game that you can cheat. This is not a game because you get bigger, faster, stronger. that you're automatically going to get more wins. The skill piece has to be a huge part in it. So we're very excited about all the work we've put in, and this has been a team effort. This has not just been high school coaches. This has been all of our volunteer coaches, third grade and up, our booster club members, our parents. This is everybody on board. But this is how I know you build a program. And you build a program around the right things. And the right things are enjoying getting better and doing it together. And that's one of the things we always talk about. Let's get better together. And when we say that, that's 3rd through 12th grade. We got little kids waiting outside our locker room at halftime to give us 5. We have a Big Brother program where our high school kids mentor some of the younger groups. We've put in over 200, maybe close to 300 hours of community service within our community. So our program's much more than what you see on a Tuesday or Friday night at the game, and something that we're really, really proud of. So the direction of the program, I couldn't be more excited about. But we always got to get better. We always got to keep working, and we always got to do it together.
Jeff, anything else for Coach Drake?
Yeah, one last one. Chad's not going to like my last question, but I want to hear your answer to it. At the end of the game on Friday, you and Chad pass on the court, and Chad says, "Thanks for coming on the show. Nice win, Coach." And then what? So at the result of that, what's one thing that you would have been really proud of your guys that they did that night that is going to kind of get them through to the next level? What do you think they're going to have to do well on against West?
Well, you got to match or surpass everything West brings from a toughness and physicality standpoint. And that, to me, that's the ultimate compliment to the Wausau West group, is they're tough, they're physical, they know who they are, they have an identity. And if you don't come strapped up and ready to match and surpass from a physicality, from a checkout, from just all the tough stuff, that would be what I would be most proud of. And that's certainly the stuff that we hang our hats on the most. Certainly our team's getting some notoriety for their offense. But it's that tough stuff that's how you find a way to win games in March. Because shooting comes and goes, but getting in a stance, moving on airtime, having hands and feet on a closeout, guarding the ball, seeing your man, getting 5 in the mix from a rebounding standpoint, valuing the basketball, catch, ripping, faking and making, playing off 2. I could go on and on and on, but that's the stuff that'll be the difference. So look forward to the challenge, and I would love to have that conversation at the end.
Coach Oliver Drake, DC Everest boys basketball, and it's a fun time of year. It'll be a fun Friday night. Thanks again for spending some time with us.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks again for all that you guys do. Really appreciate you guys.
We're going to take a quick time out. Be right back. Big High School Sports Show presented by K5 Construction on 98.9 WXCO. The Central Wisconsin Storm are back at the state tournament. Thursday night, the Storm will take on the Eau Claire Area Stars in a girls hockey state semifinal. Hear all the exciting action live on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM. Mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app, starting with the pregame show at 7:06 and the opening face-off at 7:30. Central Wisconsin Storm hockey from the state tournament is brought to you by Four Seasons Golf, the Wausau Cyclones, Mike Whitmore Construction, Mosinee Family Chiropractic, the Cloverbell Credit Union, Red Robin Restaurants, Sun Printing, the Wausau West Athletic Department, Coast to Coast Marketing is the Central Wisconsin Storm taking on the Eau Claire Area Stars in a girls hockey state semifinal. Thursday night, starting with the pregame show at 7:06 on 98.9 WXCO, WXCO.FM. Mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. And welcome back. Big High School Sports Show presented by K5 Construction, 98.9 WXU. That was a really nice last question you had there.
I thought you'd like that. Well, it could play out either way. It could also not be. I want to hear what he had to say.
No, but I tell you,
be proud of his team.
It's going to be fun. I mean, that's going to be a wonderful environment at the field house on Friday night.
That is what you want. There will be a war. The home court advantages. It's not going to matter. It's all what you want in a high school game. It's going to be exciting to see.
Well, I think West earning the number 6 seed would have liked somebody to have to travel 2.5 hours.
Right.
Because when you earn the home court advantage, you want it to be the home court advantage.
Right. It's also a tough goal for West. But I just think in-conference rivalry, just across town
Yeah.
a little bit. The makeup of the different type of players sounds like they both are going to know each other well, what you're going to get out of it. So who can not turn the ball over as much, who can play a little better D, and who shoots the ball well, we'll see.
We are going to start going down the brackets here on the boys side. We'll get back into it later in the show, but here, Division I, last night there was a game. Wisconsin Rapids lost at home to Appleton West 67-62. All the Valley teams are in the bottom half of this sectional number 1. And again, sometimes you, like you talked about, sometimes you like to be able to see other teams. Other times you don't mind seeing the teams that are close by, but all these teams are kind of bunched together. You have Marshfield hosting Appleton East, number 2 versus number 15. Appleton East beat Chippewa Falls last night 58-41. Stevens Point, number 7 against Hudson, number 10. And the 2 winners will then meet on Saturday in the regional final. Again, what do you think? What do you look at in that bracket?
Well, I think just for the games you listed, Marshfield should be able to take Appleton East in that game based on how Appleton East beat Chippewa Falls. For Spash, to me, is just a scary 7. They're another team. I don't think they've hit their stride yet, even though we're going to start the playoffs, just because of the dynamics when Aoi came back and what he's able to contribute to them, and how they've put those pieces back together as one on the floor. And I think that's going to be a dangerous 7 seed. So I don't think anything's solidified if it ends up with Marshfield and Spash, because I think, in Spash, sometimes when they go north and they go up to those higher schools, I don't know what Hudson has, but they've been okay over the years. Mm-hmm. Could they be a scary 10 too?
Of course.
Rapids losing to Appleton West in the first round, not surprised. They've had a rough go. Everybody said solid team, but just couldn't get it together, and for whatever reason,
I was listening real fast. I was listening to the end of that game on our Civic Media sister station, and my first thought is, you are what you are. I mean, to be honest with you, it's one of those things where you always think at some point something could change. Yeah. But this year for Rapids, for whatever reason, this is basically who they are. They have some talent. They're able to do some ththings, but just not able to get over the hump. And sometimes that's just the way it is.
Yeah, and they were competitive in some games, and you thought, okay, they're going to get the next one, and they didn't. They still had some guard play where they got, sometimes almost close to 20 points out of Ronas in specific games. Rainus, sorry. I'm judging my pronunciation, but I think it'll be some interesting round matchups with Marshfield Spash. But again, can they quietly seep through there a little bit with maybe not all these teams being on the top? And I still, even in a 6-11 matchup, you'd think that there's some disparity there for West and Everest. It's going to be a fun one too.
Yeah, let's talk about that part of the bracket. You got number 3 Eau Claire Memorial hosting number 14 Eau Claire North, an inner city battle in that game, and then of course Everest making the short trek to West, 11 versus 6. As you look at it. And again, I'm not going to jump in and give I'll give some thoughts, but I'm too close to it, I think, in some respects. What are your thoughts taking a look at that game?
Coach Drake said it. West has just got that stymie defense. They're hanging on you. They're tough. They're all over. They got this grit and determination that they've always held on that end. And then, over this, especially this season, they've just put the ball in the basket a lot more consistently too. And we talked about the win at Merrill that they just had, and that kind of puts things in perspective that they're playing a little bit better in getting through the injury that they had to Federico. And then Federici, did I say that wrong?
Federici.
Sorry, yeah. I knew right after I said
Nico, you put it together.
Yes,
Nico.
But then I corrected myself.
Yes,
so
you did. Very
counts. Good. But we didn't have school today, so I'm off on my pronunciation. I know. And then with Everest, high octane, but they do a lot of good things. That one's tough. It's going to be a war. I mean, again, sometimes it just comes down to the night. Do you put the ball in the basket enough? Did you take care of
You're listening to Civic Media. Stay up to date on the latest news and information for your local community and Wisconsin by signing up for our free email newsletter. Visit civicmedia.us/email to get started.
And welcome back. Big High School Sports Show presented by K5 Construction, 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. Again, presented by K5 Construction, a family-owned and operated custom builder in central Wisconsin that stands out from the rest for its commitment to quality and excellence. From design and planning to final construction, K5 Construction delivers superior results on every project. With Jeff Gress, I'm Chad Holmes, and time now for our student-athlete guest from Wausau West High School, senior defenseman Drake Kuharski. Drake, I know it's a busy week, so really appreciate you coming on by.
Yeah. There's been a busy week, like you said. Hard practice. We have been had some good practices. Looking forward to this big state tournament this weekend. Hoping to take the championship home with us, and gonna have lots of fun.
Let's talk about this season as a whole, because coming into it, Coach actually said, outside your locker room, I don't think a lot of folks were saying that Wausau West was going to find their way through this sectional, often called the sectional of death. Started off 3-3, and then after that seemed to get onto a roll. What was the feeling at the start of the year for you guys? I mean, you as a senior, we were just saying, it was now or never to get to state.
Yeah.
What was the feeling at the start of the year? Did you feel like this was something that was not just possible, but something that could happen if you guys were able to play at the level that you know you can play at?
Yeah, I knew this would be possible. I feel like at the beginning of the season, we were kind of on the lower end. Like, we needed to find it where it was at, like the peak with the team, like coming together as a team and playing as a team. I feel like more towards the end of the year here now, we've finally made the coming together part happen as a team, and we've been playing good, and I think we have a really good shot at.
Was there a point in the season where you felt like it did come together? Was there maybe either a game or a moment where you said, okay, we've turned the corner. Now we are a dangerous team. Was there a moment this season that it kind of felt that way?
Not so much to me. I almost feel like we're kind of like up and down as a team. I feel like we had like a 6 or 7 8-game streak going there, and that's where at my biggest moment where I felt where we were coming together as a team, like we were a dangerous team, and then we kind of fell off from there after we played point and lost 7-1 on their home ice. I don't know, and we kind of came back, brought it back together, and we've been playing good ever since then.
And, hitting at the high point of the season right now, winning the sectional final and going down to state. And you said you were dangerous, and we've been playing good at this point. And off air, we were talking about all the things that you're looking forward to with the state tournament this weekend. What do you think right now makes Wausau West hockey hitting their peak right now? What are you guys doing really well on the ice that's just thriving and dangerous for opponents in your eyes?
I feel like a big thing we do as a team is we kind of take a lot of penalties, which is not so good, but our penalty kill is probably one of our best things right now. Like, we don't let many power plays score on us. Like, we have a really solid, strong penalty kill. I feel like when we get in the hang of it and we're playing good, we move the puck around a lot. Like, we move it good. We set things up, and we put the puck on net when we need to.
It's a good thing you the penalty kill on Friday.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, four times they had to do it in the third period to hold on and beat Eau Claire Memorial. Let's kind of take a step back. How long have you been playing hockey? When did you first put on the skates?
I put my first pair of skates on when I was about 3 years old. I am now 18, so it's been quite a while.
When did you feel like, hey, I'm pretty good at this? When were you a natural at 3 years old, or was there a point that you said, "Hey, I think I can do this pretty well. I'm going to put in the time, put in the effort, put in the miles"? Because the one thing about hockey, you guys travel all over the place. Was there a point that said, I think I can do this pretty well"?
I think beginning, I don't really remember that far back, but I think when I first noticed that, like, I can do this, it's probably Bantam year. First year of Bantams. Like, before then, it was just kind of like, I'm having fun doing this. But as soon as I hit Bantams, I was like, I want to continue to do this. And
were you always a defenseman?
I have always been a defenseman. I don't think I've ever played forward in my hockey career.
Have you ever had the urge to play forward?
Nope. Always been wanting to be a defenseman.
Very good.
And how about that journey in all those youth leagues? Are there still a lot of guys that are on your team currently that you kind of grown up playing with, or has it made new friends? Because I think that when you become a senior and you graduate and your sport's done, you've made it to the culmination of a great career and a team-wise thing down at state. It's nice to do it with those buddies that have been a part of that for a while. Do you have a lot of guys that you played youth hockey with that are still there with you today?
Oh yeah, almost all the kids on our team right now I've played youth hockey with. Like, I don't know, just all of them. Like, all the seniors with me, I've played hockey with them my whole life. A lot of the underclassmen. I know them all.
Again, we're talking to Drake Kuharski, Wausau West High School senior, member of the Wausau West hockey team that is heading to the state tournament. They'll meet Notre Dame Academy in a state semifinal on Friday at 2 o'clock. We'll have the game right here on 98.9 WXCO. When you look at the game of hockey, and when we have hockey players on, I like to ask, because we don't have as many of the hockey players on, what is it about the game that drew you in? Because obviously as a young person, you get different options in terms of what sport you want to play. What is it about the game of hockey that drew you in?
I think it's going to be like the fast pace, the really fast movement of the game. Like, there's lots of physicality in it. Like, I don't know, there's just those two things is what really drew me in.
You've been a member of the varsity squad for 3 years now. How have you changed as a player? Where are the areas that you've most improved in?
I feel like I've most improved in being a better teammate, probably moving the puck around, keeping my head up. That's a real good one right there. I don't know, there's not much. I mean, I do whatever I'm coached to do. I mean, Coach Brandt, he's a good coach to me. If I'm doing something wrong, he's helping me. He's leading me in the right direction, and I feel like I've grown just as time goes on.
Sure.
And you made it very clear that you never want to be a forward. You want to be a defenseman.
Oh, yeah.
What draws you to that position? Because if I asked a number of basketball players I've ever coached, it's the offensive side, but they want to put the ball in the basket. That's what they enjoy, firing the shots and stuff like that. So what draws you? But you need guys that do that those reps and the roles and got that toughness. What draws you to be a defenseman? What do you like about it?
I don't know. I feel like being the one to put the body into another person's body is pretty fun. I feel like making that stop from a puck going in the back of the net is also a big thing. Like, I feel like more, I don't really know how to explain it, but I just feel good about myself, like being able to stop that puck and keep that puck out of the back of the net and protect our goalie, Julian Scalcucci.
Just doing your job. It feels good, right?
Yep.
I will ask you, though, because this was the year you scored your first varsity goals, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, because I don't think you scored varsity goals before this year. Was there a thrill?
Oh, yeah, there was a thrill. I mean, when I scored that, I scored my second or third varsity goal against Rapids. I mean, it was just kind of like, whoa, the puck was in the back of the net. And it was stood in the corner, let all the guys huddle up around me, and I went through the shake the hands of the bench, and it was that.
Is there a risk on that? Are you out of position when you're doing that? Are you too far?
No.
Or is there set plays where you can?
There's not so necessarily set plays. It was almost kind of like I read the play right where the puck was going, and it came my way, and I had the opportunity to shoot the puck, and it just ended up in the back of the net.
And it's one of those things, if you score, what's the coach going to say, right?
Yeah,
you just
right?
put the ball in the net, or the puck in the net for him. So,
let's kind of step away from the ice, and we'll get back to it and talk about the game coming up on Friday. When you're not playing hockey, what do you like to do?
Big fisherman. I love fishing. I do lots of ice fishing. I do lots of open water fishing. That's probably one of my main things I love to do. I just recently got into it, but that's probably my favorite thing to do now.
I've heard about open water. What is the what makes it unique? What makes it special?
I don't know. I feel like being out on the boat with your family, girlfriend, whoever you're going to be out there with, just in the sun, in a swimsuit, casting the pole around, catching some fish. I mean, there's nothing better than it.
Best fish you caught so far?
34-inch northern, I think.
And are you that into it where, like, you're going to be one of those guys, I just caught it in some lake up north? You won't give the name away?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Catch and release, I don't keep fish. I don't really eat fish. It's just I go out there.
It's a
just
thrill
to
of
catch
getting one.
Yep.
It's, again, like a challenge.
Yep.
Like playing hockey. Trying to be the best you can be.
Yep.
Do you have a favorite class in school?
I'm not. Don't care too much about school, but I mean, you got to do it because sports, and
right.
You got to keep your grades good. My favorite classes would probably be the manufacturing classes. I'm big into that. I like woodworking and stuff like that.
Are you hoping to play hockey anymore after high school?
I mean, if I get the chance to and I see someone or someone talks to me about it, I might think about that. Otherwise, I'm just going to go into the workforce and go into the trades or do
Let
whatever.
me ask you, though, I mean, because you said since 3 years old, would you be someone, because there are adult leagues like that, would you be somebody that would want to play in some way, or after this point where you play at such a high level that you could step away? Because I think some people just love being around it and just have to be, no matter what the level is. And others would say, well, I played at such a high level, go to the state tournament, play for one of the best high school hockey programs in the state. How do you look at it? Do you see yourself playing hockey in some way as you get older?
I'm definitely not going to take myself away from it. I'll be around it the rest of my life, I'll go watch games. I'll go do this. Maybe I'll play men's league on Sunday nights. You never know. I mean, that might come to mind. Otherwise, I don't know. Just go out, skate on outdoor rinks with buddies. Maybe I don't know.
And they always have that around Christmas time, the 3-on-3.
Yep.
They bring them back.
Yep.
So I bet you'll always be coming back for that,
I
right?
might be I'm sure I'll do that.
What do you have a trade in mind? You seem very decisive. If there's no more hockey after that, you're gonna go into the workforce. Do you have a trade in mind?
I'm thinking electrical.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's look at this state tournament experience because you guys will head down tomorrow.
Yep.
What are you, besides the game itself, what are you most excited about this experience? Is there anything in particular about this experience that you're really looking forward to?
Probably an environment, I'd say. I mean, it's going to be lots of people there. It's like, I've never really skated on the ice around this many people, and it's just going to be something crazy to experience. And then, I don't know, it's going to be awesome to see. It's going to be lots of fun.
Have the coaches, since we've talked off air, haven't been there since 6 years. It's brand new for you, which is, I think it's awesome no matter what, whether this is your third time going or it's brand new. It's just something you're going to get to have as a memory for the rest of your life because it's such a special thing. Have the coaches kind of given you guys any advice because they've been there before, or are they more so just, does it seem like they're just kind of letting you figure out and you can go all in and kind of see what it's like?
For game-wise and, play-wise, he's given us advice, scouting reports against other teams and who we're playing and this and that. But, I mean, being in the environment and going there, he lets us know, what it's like, but it's kind of also, we're going to, get to see it ourselves and, figure it out on our own and, see what the environment is like. I don't know. I can't wait.
And I got to imagine you got probably a vibe from your teammates already. There's a little bit of everything as there would be expected, right? Some nervousness, some confidence because you're also playing well. Some you want to leave nothing for second chance guesses. You want to finish it out. So I got to imagine it's a culmination of a bunch of emotions. And you'll get to figure it out when you get there. And both teams have to do it.
Oh yeah.
Looking at Notre Dame, obviously that's a program that's had incredible success in recent years. You had a chance to play them over at Cornerstone between Christmas and New Year's. What stood out about Notre Dame Academy that you're going to kind of take onto the ice on Friday?
They're very skilled, fast-paced, moving team. They move the puck around a lot. Their power plays they're good. They like to find that bumper guy that sits in the middle. And I don't know, I think we play like we played against Memorial on Friday, and we have a good chance, I think.
That first Notre Dame game was interesting because I think it was the day after the Springs game, if I'm not mistaken. And that was a tough one. And I thought that maybe was one of the turning points where you guys you bounce back. And I think one of the great things about athletics, especially high school athletics, is that ability to come right back and to be able to get knocked down and then get back up again. Did having that win against Notre Dame Academy add confidence to you and your group? Because they obviously have been a team that's been at the top of Wisconsin high school hockey for such a long time. To go into their building and to win that hockey game, was that maybe a bit of a spark plug for your team?
Oh, yeah, I think that was a big spark for our team. I mean, we've played them every year the past how many years I've played.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've always given up good games, but we've also had those bad games against them where it's like they just kick our butts and, there's nothing we can do about it. So
right.
Beating a good, skilled team like that feels awesome and gives our team such good confidence.
From what you might remember from the first meeting to the next game you'll play on Friday, is there something that your team's going to have to do well to get, you obviously talked that you're at full strength. That last time you might not have been, you still won the game, which is great. And everybody's on a high, so sometimes those games can start off a little different till everybody gets their bearings right away. Is there something, let me ask you this, to play well on Friday, what's one thing you want to see out of your team?
I think one thing I'd like to see out of our team is moving the puck around a lot. I feel like there's times where we do a lot of individual skilled things, and that kind of brings our team down. Like that causes just nonsense and lots of craziness on the bench and wherever it is. But I think if we move the puck around and we play good and skilled and structured as a team, I think we'll play good. We'll do good.
How much of an advantage is it to have played them before? And I ask you this because if you win on Friday, then on Saturday you play a team that you haven't played before. Mm-hmm. Is it a big advantage knowing what you're going into on Friday?
Oh, yeah, I think it's a big advantage for sure. I mean, we know what they're like. Like, we've seen them before. We've seen them how many years in a row. Like, we know how they play. We know how they move the puck. We know how fast, skilled they are. I think, yeah, that's a big advantage.
What has been the response from people around you after Friday? Because it was such a wonderful run to beat Superior, to beat New Richmond, to beat Eau Claire Memorial, all really, really good hockey teams, to get to state. What has been the response for the people in your life, whether your family or your girlfriend or whoever it may be? What has it been like with the people around you?
I feel like there's been lots of excitement. Like family, like they're super excited to go there. Like I don't think any of my family's ever been there. Maybe 1 or 2 times when my brother was back playing. I don't know. All the students at West, they're all super excited. Mm-hmm. They're super pumped to come down and watch this. Like it's something that I'll never forget. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's anything that any of my family or any of the students or any of them will forget either.
Mm-hmm. I always like this, and you probably, I'll let you try to answer it, but I don't know if you can. The fact to try to slow down that moment, because all these great moments in our lives, they go by so fast. And like before you come in as a freshman, the next thing you know, you're out graduating as a senior. But it seems like it wasn't that long ago, but then it goes by too fast. Same thing could be happening about this moment, and that's one of the tough parts about life is you can't slow those moments down. Sometimes you don't get them back for whatever reason. So is there anything you're going to do to just try to, I guess, slow the moment down or keep it in perspective and make the most of it? Because so many times, you want to get down there on Thursday, get your bearings down, it's always, we're going to the next thing. We got to get to the game. Now the game starts. Now we got to play well. And it's always this constant fast thought process that you enjoy it, but it's hard to do in the moment, because then before you know it, the buzzer goes off and you stand where you stand. Is there anything you think you can do to slow down, make it more special for yourself?
I don't know if there's really be anything I could slow it down with. I mean, like you said, with being a freshman, the next thing you know, you're a senior, like it goes by so fast. I mean, I'm going to go down there. I'm going to make the best of it. I'm going to have the most fun I can. I mean, I'm going to live it up. And I mean, there's really nothing you can do to slow it down. I mean, time flies.
You always ask the seniors as we get down to the end of the line about what they're going to miss the most. I think this would be a good point to ask that one, right?
Yeah, so you've been there, West Hockey, 4 years. You've been in the youth leagues. You talked about your friendships, what hockey means to you, what you enjoy about the sport. I always like to hear senior, because at the end of the day too, everybody wants to have their time valued and know what effort they put in was reciprocated and what they got out of it. So reflecting on it right now, unfortunately really quickly, what are you going to miss the most whenever that final moment comes for your hockey career over at Wausau West? What's going to be the thing that you will always cherish and remember?
I think I'm going to miss the kids that I played with and grew up playing with the most. I mean, they've done so much. Like, we've been together how long? I mean, even though it's just a friendship, that you're not with each other like after the game or at school or anything. I mean, we're always together. It's like we're brothers. It's like, I mean, I don't know. There's so much memories made with them that I think I'm going to miss the most.
And our final question always is, especially for a senior, because you've been through it, you put in the hours, put in the time. For a freshman that is part of the program, maybe just starting their journey, Jeff was saying it goes so fast. What piece of advice would you give based on what you've learned during your high school hockey career to a freshman just starting their process?
I'd say don't get upset, don't get frustrated, don't take anything for granted. I mean, there's going to be lots of up and downs with the team. There's going to be lots of up and downs with just lots of up and downs with just whatever you're doing and how you play the game. I mean, you're being coached to play the game right. Listen to coaches. I mean, do whatever they're teaching you and coaching you to do and have fun.
Drake Kuharski, senior for the Wausau West Warriors, #1. Congrats on a terrific season, and best of luck. I'll try to win that state championship this weekend.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We're going to take a quick time out and come right back. Big High School Sports Show on 98.9 WXCO.
State champions are crowned at a record-setting wrestling state tournament. I'm Travis Wilson, and this is a WisSports.net Minute brought to you by Just a Game Fieldhouse in Wisconsin Dells. More high school sports news after this. You may have heard of Just a Game Fieldhouse in Wisconsin Dells, one of the country's premier destinations for youth sports and events, but did you know that Just a Game does so much more? Just a Game also delivers end-to-end apparel, equipment, and event solutions with their state-of-the-art screen printing and embroidery facility that can help with branding for your team and business items, including uniforms, apparel, and more. Just a Game also offers digital services that include a cashless digital platform and event live streaming. Just a Game has also added a second brand new facility in Reedsburg. Find more information at justagame.com. A record attendance of more than 69,000 spectators watched the biggest individual wrestling state tournament in WIA history last week, with 54 champions crowned, plus the first ever girls team championship. A pair of boys wrestlers joined Elite Company as 4-time state champions, a club that now features 31 members. Koji Campbell of Kenosha St. Joseph claimed the title in the 126-pound weight class of Division III to finish a perfect 54-0. Joining him as a 4-time individual champion is Danny Heiser of Evansville, who dominated his way to a 52-0 record in Division II title in the 157-pound weight class. There could be another member that joins that 4-time group next year, as Dodgeville junior Hacken Peterson won his 3rd championship this season. Also picking up their 3rd titles were seniors Liam Neitzel of Hudson, Kellen Wolbert of Oconomowoc, and Tristan Stealth of Fenimore. Evansville claimed the most boys' individual state titles with 3. Over on the girls' side, Milton captured the first ever girls' team title with 62 points. Next year, the girls' team title will be decided via a true wrestling team state tournament like the boys, as the sport continues to take off in interest and participation. Senior Taylor Whiting of Lena became the 2nd girls wrestler to win 3 individual championships, capturing the title at 114 pounds. This has been a WisSports.net Minute. Check us out online at WisSports.net.
And welcome back, Big High School Sports Show, 98.9 WXCO, brought to you by K5 Construction. And it doesn't get better than going to state as a senior, does it?
No, yeah. I was just thinking about it's a unique experience whenever you go. I mean, I went as a sophomore, and then you have the dreams to get back, and you never do.
Right, you never know.
I think it's all
Nothing's guaranteed, right?
It's all a culmination. It's a cool thing to go. He's going to have memories made just by getting to show up on the ice. It's a lot of fun things are going to happen.
Well, let's talk briefly about the hockey, actually, because we just talked with Drake. The WIAA Boys and Girls State Hockey Tournament gets underway tomorrow down at Bob Suter's Legacy 20 Arena in Middleton. We got West, the Storm, and also Tomahawk just a little bit north of here, back at state for the 2nd year in a row. In fact, they will open up the tournament tomorrow. Division II boys semifinals, 9:30 a.m. I mean, it's such a different feel because you're used to playing at 7 o'clock in the evening, and then you get to state and you're playing at 9:30 in the morning. And we've seen that in basketball. We see that in other sports. It does affect players, doesn't it? Because it's so different.
Well, and sometimes you'll see coaches build into their schedules. They'll go to, like, for basketball, you go to the Century Classic.
Sure.
Because you could get an early game, and it might help you for this if you think you have a team. But it does. It's just because the logistics are there. The kids, you got to make sure bedtime's right. You got to make sure they're getting up at the right time. And you want to get a strong start. And morning games are never the easiest thing, especially when high school players are groomed to play those varsity games with 7 o'clock times, most likely time slots for the start of their game. So it's different.
So Tomahawk, number 1 seed. They are the number 1 ranked team in Division II. They will take on number 4 seeded McFarland. And McFarland, they have to feel dark. Well, number 1, Tomahawk beat Mosinee in Mosinee in the sectional final on Friday night. But McFarland, they had to go many overtimes during their playoff run, back-to-back games. They got through in I think it was one of the games was 5 overtime marathon with Monona Grove, and they won 2-1. 5 overtimes.
It's a lot extra.
Well, and the thing is, the overtime rules have been kind of changed in hockey. It starts with an 8-minute overtime, 5-on-5. Then it goes to a 17-minute overtime, 5-on-5. If it's still tied, it goes to a 17-minute overtime, 4-on-4. And I think then it goes. I mean, it is so confusing. And I just play the game 5-on-5, and then if it goes 4-on-4 to 3-on-3. So by the time you get to the 5th overtime, it's 3-on-3. I hate that. I hate the idea that a trip to state or a state championship could be decided in a 3-on-3 situation. It's not the way you play the game.
No, well, you've just changed the dynamics of what those teams do based on the number of players they normally have on the ice, barring any penalties. And at the same time, you've also I think, watered it down because of the amount of space on the ice.
It's just a different field.
And now you're asking these kids, too, that have gone and given it their all, and both teams have been equally matched based on the score to finish it out under those circles. I don't know. I don't think that's a fair. I don't like the fairness factor in that, but I'm not a hockey guy.
Second semifinal tomorrow, Division II Amory against Somerset St. Croix Falls. And then the girls will take over for the second session tomorrow. The first semifinal, number 1 seed, the Bay Area Ice Bears. They have been the number 1 ranked team throughout the season, I should say. And, they've been very impressive. Saw them in the final game of the regular season. I wish I did it because I hit a deer that night, but that's a whole different story. But they have been just outstanding. And they take on the Cap City Cougars, the number 4 seed. And then the Central Wisconsin Storm takes on the ECA Stars. And it's really 2 teams that have had great years and 2 teams that, they got hot at the right time because the Ice Bears are 25-1. The Cougars are 15-12. And then the Storm, they are 22-4. And ECA is 13-14. The losing record going to state.
Have the Storm beat them yet?
They beat them twice. They beat them 8-1 in Eau Claire, but then at Greenheck, it took overtime to win 2-1 second time around. So obviously ECA did show they could play with them.
Do you think hockey works in that same mindset? Do you think there's
Is it hard to beat a team 3 times?
That's what
I think it may well. I don't think it's easy. And hockey is it's a wild card with the goalies. It really is. If you have a great goaltender night, you can be outshot 40-10 and win the game. It's really craziness. And then Division I on Friday, 10 a.m., number 1 seed Brookfield takes on number 4 seeded Edgewood, and then number 2 Wausau West against number 3 Notre Dame at 2 p.m. And I think the Division I field is wide open. Any one of those 4 teams could be state champs. I think that is as really tight as you're going to see, I think, compared to the other 2 divisions.
From what you've watched at state over the years and what you see just in your general hockey analysis, what do you think it takes to play well right there when you hit the sheet of ice?
Man, sometimes it is,
especially when it's wide open. So there's
the whole thing about it is that you have to be disciplined. I think that disciplined in 2 different ways. Disciplined in terms of positioning on the ice to not allow your opponents to get great opportunities. That's one thing West did exceptionally well on Friday in the sectional final. They're disciplined. Their defense positioning, everything they did was really, really solid. But sometimes you just, you get excited. Your positioning gets off. It allows a talented player to get either to the outside or get to a space between the circles or whatever it may be. And also make sure that you don't get so juiced up that you take silly penalties, because power plays can be such a big factor in hockey.
And you've seen a lot of West games, so you've seen them early on when they were, like you said, 3-3, and then as they've progressed, all in the culmination of playing really well in these playoffs. What do you like about what they're doing right now?
Boy, they're doing a lot right now. Their number 1 line is scoring a lot of goals. They got a line, and the thing that's scary about it, their leading scorers, a line of a junior, and a sophomore. That's scary stuff. These are the kids that right now are doing the job on their top line. Really, really impressive. And again, I thought their defense just gets better and better and better. And that's why it's nice to have Drake here tonight, because I think from the beginning of the year to where we are now and the way they played in the sectional final, the defense discipline has been great. And also the thing that stands out is they got a terrific goaltender, sophomore Julian Scalcucci, who's played every minute except for 1 period this year, which is pretty amazing. You don't see that very often, goaltenders. So I think there's a lot to like, and I think for both the Storm and for the Warriors, there's good chances. And tomorrow night, I'll be on the air from Middleton, Bob Suter's Legacy 20 Arena, 7:06 for the pregame, 7:30 for the opening faceoff, and then Friday, Wausau West against Notre Dame Academy, 2-time defending state champs. That's a great matchup. 1:35 for the pregame, 2 o'clock for the opening faceoff. And then if the Storm win on Thursday night, they play at 3 o'clock on Saturday. I'll be there. And then if the Warriors win on Friday, they play at 7 o'clock on Saturday night. So
a lot of good things.
Hopefully
some wins, yeah.
I'm looking forward tomorrow morning after my show to hit the road, get there, and see some state tournament hockey.
Be a lot of fun.
It will be a lot of fun. Let's take a 1-minute break here. 2,000, Ian. 1 minute break, and then we'll come back and we're going to delve into the basketball. Lots of brackets.
Yep.
Boys and girls. We'll get right on it in 1 minute here on 98.9 WXCO. For the first time in 6 years, the Wausau West hockey team is at the state tournament. On Friday afternoon, the Warriors will hit the ice against two-time defending Division I state champion Notre Dame Academy in a state semifinal. Hear all the exciting action live on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app, starting with the pregame show at 1:35 and the opening face-off at 2 p.m. Wausau West Hockey from the state tournament is brought to you by Four Seasons Go, the Wausau Cyclones, Mike Whitmore Construction, Mosini Family Chiropractic, the Cloverbell Credit Union, Red Robin Restaurants, Sun Printing, the Wausau West Athletic Department, Coast to Coast Marketing, and the Wausau West Hockey Booster Club. It's Wausau West versus Notre Dame Academy in a Division I hockey state semifinal. Friday, starting with the pregame show at 1:35 on 98.9 WXCO. Along with Jeff Grass, I'm Chad Holmes. Big High School Sports Show presented by K5 Construction here on 98.9 WXCO. Hey, we did Division I on the boys' side for the regionals coming up on Friday and Saturday. Division II, sectional number 1. You got Wausau East, the number 1 seed, taking on number 8 seeded Merrill. Last night, Merrill beat Antigo by a score of 84-61. Merrill scored 51 points in the first half. I have to admit, I am shocked they scored 51 points in the first half because, frankly, I thought they were rather passive against Wausau West last week. And I think for Merrill, in order to beat Wausau East, they cannot be passive. They have to be, I think, aggressive, play like they did last night, and go after the Lumberjacks.
Yeah, the games that I've seen Merrill have a lot of success, whether it's on the scoreboard, whether it's some highlights on the news, whether when I watched them early on, which was I think the first game of the year against Newman, they were very aggressive, and they definitely have the players and that kind of brutality to them where they're a very physical team, and guys that can put the ball in the basket that have Locksmiths and Wykes and Page. I think for Merrill to have success against East, they're going to have to come out and give those first couple punches. For East, got to give them credit. Anytime you can go out and get the number 1 seed, you got to feel good about that. And I still think that they're waiting. When Nebgeza got sick, still waiting to hit that moment back, which it's going to happen. They've played a lot together. You just kind of get your feet back under there, and it's going to be again. You got two Valley teams going right at each other, and for Merrill, just kind of labeled as a Valley team, your last hurrah being the Valley team. So.
When I was coming home last night from my game, caught the post game of the Merrill broadcast, and it sounds like they do have a little illness. So that's something that again is a big factor. So I did not get all the details there, but it sounds like they are battling a little illness. Hopefully it will be better as we get towards Friday. But also 2 years ago, kind of a similar situation. Merrill went to a higher-seeded Mosini and pulled off the upset. So Coach Pieper knows, I think, what to do in this situation. And he's had, and he was saying in his post-game interview last night that, hey, they're due that against East, and they feel like they're as good as East. It's taking nothing away from East, but they're as good. And I think the mindset is they're going to go after them on Friday night.
Well, I'm trying to think. Again, we watched or talked about so many games. I can't remember if I saw a Merrill East game this year or I'm running that into last year when I saw one. But there's always this element of these physical presence out of these two teams on the court at that point. They're going at each other like a boxing match because they just war with each other, and I think that when it gets into conference play, when they do that, it's because they're in the same division for the playoffs. And we've talked about a lot of different ways to look at these playoffs. You've already beat a team twice. You're trying to get the upset because you were beat twice, or is it just the kids have got the tools? They've been encouraged and worked with by the coaches. giving some more advice for this game because the coaches are going to coach. And then it's kind of up to the players. I mean, I had a coach one time in a playoff game early on in my career say, hey, we really have nothing to do with this anymore. They just got to go out and play, and it's the prisoners running the asylum. And there's some truth to that. So I think it's going to be a fun game. They know each other well. I love watching the chess match when two teams know each other well. Both have weapons on each side, and it'll see, is East fully recovered from when Bez was sick? Is Merrill still a little bit tottering because of the sickness? We'll see, but I think it's going to be a great game in a fun high school atmosphere.
The winner of that one will take on either number 5 Medford or number 4 Menominee. Medford travels. Interesting, Medford, a number 5 seed, almost won the conference, but so obviously I think the regional final will be interesting. You have Rhinelander, the number 2 seed, hosting number 7 Rice Lake. Ashland and New Richmond are actually playing tonight. They got postponed last night. The winner of that one will play at number 3 River Falls. But Rhinelander obviously coming in with a little momentum after winning the conference. Medford is going to be a tough team. East, obviously, I think that's a very interesting top half of the bracket.
It is, and for Medford, I'm curious because again, we've talked about that 9-3 mark, second place finish in the conference with Mosinee have done really well in conference down the second half of the season. And the biggest struggles came in non-conference games. So going on the road, are they playing their best ball right now? Is it going to be another struggle just because they haven't hit the mark in their non-conference games? I guess we'll see. For Rhinelander, I think just poised to continue to try to get the job done to the best of their ability. And they're bringing in number 7 seed Rice Lake. And I think, Rice Lake handled Lakeland in the first round of their playoff game, beating the number 10 Lakeland team. So it'll be good for Rhinelander because you got them against a similar foe that you've already played twice within your conference. So interesting to see how those two GNC teams do in the playoffs.
And then at the bottom of that sectional in another regional bracket, Mosinee is a number 4 seed. They will take on number 5 seeded Sparta at home. Sparta got past Shawano in a rather tight one, 72-67. The winner of that game will take on either number 1 Onalaska or number 8 Toma. So again, not the easiest bracket for Mosinee.
No, and it's funny how again, you shift out of an area that you've been accustomed to, you get to see different teams, but does it, is it harder? Is it nice because it's different? That's kind of up to the players and the coaches on that opinion. Those 4 or 5 games are tough sometimes because if the computer's done its job, you're supposed to be pretty tight in that, even whether you have the home court advantage or not. Obviously, being the 4 is much nicer because you like to play in your own gym where you practice and stuff. So I still think we talked about a little bit of the youth on Mosinee. I still think they've played well throughout this year and are going to be they're going to do what they do. They're going to be physical. They're going to be athletic. They're going to be aggressive, and Sparta's going to have
they got a high ceiling. I've said that.
Yeah.
They got good talent. They got a high ceiling. I think again as a 4, they have the ability if they play at that high level to be able to beat somebody at a higher seed.
Well, and most the teams aren't lucky enough to run the gamut, and they're a game away from being conference champion. They lost a round. It's one game. not whether even maybe you played solid enough in it, you just lost it. You lost that one game. So I think they're still a good team, and I think they still have marks they can hit. And it's nice to have when some of those sophomores are doing a good job among your other supporting cast. It's a good play to have.
Division 3, Wittenberg-Burnham, a number 2 seed. They will take on Wrightstown on Friday, number 7 seed. They beat Amherst last night, 75-44. Menominee Nation from the CWC East knocked off Tomahawk from the GNC, 71-30 last night. Number 6 seed will take on number 3 seed Seymour in that same bracket. The 2 winners will then meet in a regional final on Saturday. And Northern Pines is the number 4 seed in that bracket. They will take on number 5 seeded Oconto Falls. And again, you talked a little bit about Whitburn. Pines has been a team that's sort of been interesting. We remember seeing them back Thanksgiving weekend when they came to the Wausau West Turkey Shoot. And Menominee Nation's actually been a little bit of I think they've taken some steps forward for that program. They've had some difficulties athletically in the number 6 seed. But Whitburn, can they find their sea legs?
Well, yeah, again, and the only thing that makes you, they're a good basketball team. They got good guard play. They've been putting up points. They had 11-3 mark in their conference, 17 wins overall. And I thought, I don't know, Mana was kind of down at the bottom of the conference. So to beat Mana by 20, they should have done it, but they also needed a win at that point because they were struggling in that category. So they've earned a number 2 seed for the team they are. And I like to think if you go out and earn it, you should be able to take down the number 7 seed. And you have some familiarity because that Wrightstown team just beat Amherst, who's been their conference forward. They got 2 victories. And Pines, again, is always that little bit of a undecisive team of where they end
right
up.
in the middle
So
of the GNC.
They're a 4 or 5 matchup there. That one's, I think, could be a flip of a coin again to see who comes out and play better that night.
And the good news for Whitburn is they could play 2 home games this week to get to sectionals. That's always a good thing to be a number 2 seed like that.
Yes.
Division 4, again, this is a fun bracket.
Fun as long as you're not sitting the sideline, right?
You're exactly right. Sectional 2, top half of the bracket, number 1 seed is Auburndale. They will host number 8 seeded Colby on Friday. Number 5 Phillips, number 4 Marathon. I'm sure you can break that one down since you saw this matchup just a couple of weeks ago. And then the winners meet on Saturday. Of course, Marathon could be going to Auburndale if both teams win on their home courts Friday. That quarter of the bracket, what do you think?
Well, I want to see Auburndale's consistency because they were 21-1 up until a couple kind of the last 2 weeks when we were talking, and they took 2 losses that moved them out of the first place in that conference, as well as, there's again when the seeding meeting comes out.
I know.
Because they held that number 1 seed because of the record and the games they had before that. So are they going to get it back to where they're in their winning ways, or are they going to, we don't know. For them, they're going to beat number 8 Colby. They won the first meeting at the beginning of the year, and I would think they're going to get them to get that Merriwood showdown. For Marathon, we saw the loss at Assumption, which was on a tough place to play. Assumption played well that night. Marathon played well enough to win it too. The ball just didn't go in the basket a couple times. They needed it too.
And then the next game, though, they had trouble with Edgar at home.
Yeah.
So it looks like, boy, they're kind of teetering a little bit. Yeah. And then bang, probably their best performance of the year to win at Auburndale.
And so I think Marathon's, if they could get that inside-outside game going, they're deadly because we know they can play inside, and that's where teams are going to try to keep them away from the basket, off the free throw line, keep them out around the arc, and when they're hitting some of those shots, which that night that we saw them, they easily could have. And then again, fast forward to the next game we saw when we watched them beat Phillips. I think they got Phillips' number. They know how to frustrate Phillips, even though Phillips has a couple of solid scores. They frustrated them really good the night we watched defensively. They were in their face. They weren't getting clean looks, couldn't pivot around and see the passing lanes they wanted to. And it's, for Phillips, there's a lot of pressure there to go back in that gym again and try to get a team that beat you up the first time you saw them.
And then Stratford is the number 2 seed. They will take on Edgar. Boy, Stratford, Edgar, no matter what sport, often is just a war. Edgar barely survived Abbotsford in overtime. And so Edgar and Stratford, Hurley will be taking on either Washburn or Spencer. That game going on right now. In fact, maybe over by now, 6 o'clock tip. But Stratford, boy, they're playing well.
Yes, they are. And I just the win over at Assumption was by a good margin. They beat Edgar twice in the regular season. I again, tough call because it's a playoffs and they play each other and they know each other. So I got to imagine Edgar's going to try to come throw some punches. How well can Stratford or not have a letdown? That's the big deal for them to finish out that game and continue their wins on into the playoffs.
And also bottom half of the bracket, number 1 seed is Bondwell. They take on CWC East rival Shiocton. And Iola Scandinavia, as we mentioned, tied with Whitburn for second, number 3 seed in that bracket. They'll take on Algoma. So, again, that CWC top tier we saw Whitburn is in Division 3, but those two, Bondwell and Iola, I think they're lined up to make a decent run.
Yeah, I think especially, we talk about Bondwell, just the amount of wins they get. They had one little mark on their record, which might not have been a bad one to have and take right before playoffs. So it'll be, and Iola, I think, playing some better basketball than they were at the beginning of the season to try to creep back up to the top of that conference, get a couple wins against some good teams in their conference, and we'll see where they make of themselves as the season winds down here.
Division 5 sectional number 2, a couple of area teams involved in games last night. I was over in Leona as Newman Catholic fell to number 5 seed Wabeno Leona by a score of 63-49. Quincy Fender at 26 for the Cards, Jacob Piffner 16, Cooper Albrecht 22 for Wabeno Leona. And their bracket opened up because number 13 Goodman Pembine defeated number 4 White Lake 53-44. Also in that bracket, number 6 Northern Lutheran beat number 11 Gresham 73-58. They will take on number 3 Tigerton. And we talked earlier about how they played just last Thursday. Tigerton beat number 14 Wild Rose 65-43. Bottom of the bracket, Pacelli, number 2 seed, 75-26 over Marion. But looking at that part of the bracket, that bracket, obviously Newman saying, boy, could have won. We could have had a home game on Friday night, but season came to an end for the Cards.
Well, I know, just, looking down the rows, I remember years where Assumption and Columbus were, and we're all hanging in that bracket too, and now they've gone to different areas. So, tough one for the Cardinals. They definitely sounds like with the leading scores and the offensive production was there, but you got to keep that team in check defensively. And it's one of those things where if you're a competitor and it bothers you, it's one of those things, what if we could have had a home, maybe the regular season didn't go exactly our way, but we could have had a home playoff game because people were talking about it already that White Lake wasn't a strong 4 seed and that they could be beat by the 13 seed. And then you win that one. And another thing, you could be playing in a regional final on your home court being the 12 seed, which
exactly
doesn't happen very often. For Northern Lutheran, it's nice to see them get that win in the first round at the number 6 seed over Gresham, who they should have beat. Tough road ahead to turn around and play at Tigerton, but again, it's anything goes in the playoffs. So see what Northern Luther can conjure up Friday night at Tigerton.
Rib Lake and Prentice from the Merriwood North, both victorious over in Sectional 1. Rib Lake defeated Thorpe 50-34. They'll take on big northern rival Flambeau coming up on Friday. And Prentice beat Athens. As you said, Athens had beat Prentice in the final night of the regular season. Couldn't do it 2 times in a row. Prentice beat them 79-61. And also in D5 in sectional number 3, Assumption, number 7 seed, beat New Lisbon 67-48, and they take on Columbus.
I saw, I turned on a little bit of the Assumption game because it was later than most. It had a 7:15 start, so got to see them a little bit. And they had that, it took them till the second half, but they had that game in check.
Yeah, they're tied at half.
Yeah, they had that game in check in the middle of the second half and took over and won on their home court. Again, playing like they are, up and down, fast pace, a lot of pressure in the zone. And kind of falls down to how they hit their shot. I think that'll be an interesting match with Columbus because if you know anything about Columbus, they can hit from the outside, and if they are on, it's not a fun game usually if you're the other team. I found that Prentice Athens stuff interesting that you can kind of get beat up in the last game of the regular season by the team you're going to face in the playoffs and turn around and switch it and win it. So interesting matchup there for Prentice. And Rib Lake, I watched them against Newman when Newman played up there in the last 4 weeks of the season, and they have a solid team. They have some kids that can shoot the ball, some guards that can get the ball up and down the floor, play solid defense, and it'll be interesting to see how much they can continue. And they got another home game versus Flambeau Friday night.
Let's turn to the girls. We don't have a lot of time, so we have to kind of fly through this. Division 1, Stevens Point is still involved. They have a sectional semifinal tomorrow night against Appleton East. And Stevens Point beat DC Everest in the regional semifinals, 48-23. And then they beat Eau Claire North in the regional final. They're the last standing in that part of the bracket.
Which we've talked about, that they should be the last standing team based on what they did in the regular season. For them, what you got to love about this one is sometimes locations of places that decide to hold the game, and they get to go to a familiar Valley Court they played on twice this season, where they're at DC Everest, and their young talent in Soybert, and they also have Aui, the freshman, playing. It'll be a nice run to have the regional final that they have in the first round of the sectional, see how well they play against the Appleton East team.
Division 2, we were talking about this last week, the potential of round 3 between Mosinee and Lakeland. They played a pair of 3-point games during the Great Northern Conference season, but boy, Lakeland in the regional final on Saturday defeated Mosinee by a score of 66-40. Christina Wamet had 19 points for Lakeland. Addison Henrik had 14. Lakeland did a great job against the all-conference performer Taylon Jershele, but that one stood out. And now Lakeland takes on Rice Lake, who they lost to earlier in the season. Rice Lake actually lost to Mosinee late in the season, so I think that's a very doable game as well for Lakeland in the sectional semifinals. And then the winner of that one will take on either Shawano or Marinette for a trip to state on Saturday.
Yeah, I think all those things are the interesting part of high school sports, how the team you just beat also beat the team you're just going to face.
Who beat you earlier.
Right, who beat you earlier, who I think Rice Lake is the number 1 seed, correct? And Lakeland's the number 2. So I think that's just an interesting matchup. That's going to, you got Wamet, who can definitely have a scoring push, plus more of a supporting cast. And for Lakeland, obviously, you can see the damage done when they held Jersey in check with the number of points she had.
Wittenberg-Burnhamwood still undefeated. Not blowouts in the regionals. They defeated Oconto Falls 66-52 and then beat Seymour 55-45. So Whitburn and number 2 seeded Freedom. And over the years, it seems like Freedom has had Whitburn's number a number of times in the playoffs.
Yeah, they're going to play at Wapaka. Freedom is, I wrote this down to make sure I knew it, 20 win season already. They were 14-4 for second place in a tough conference. And they have I'm wondering if the stats are right, because when I check the stats, they have like 3 or 4 players average about 8 points. But I don't know if every game's in there. But if that's the case and they're winning, they're obviously playing a lot on the defensive end, if that's true.
Well, real quick, Freedom in their last game when they beat Menominee Nation 60-42, 11 players scored. None in double digits. So it looks like it is a wide swath of scores.
And we've talked about that can be a big deal going down. Who are you going to shut down? You only got one time to see this team. Who's going to show up? They have multiple attack weapons that can make a difference.
And then Winneconne and Xavier waits for the winner. And I think Xavier, if I'm not mistaken, beat Whitburn last year.
Yeah.
In the sectional. Yep. So obviously, some work to do for the Chargers. Division 4. Auburndale lost to Bondwell, another team from the CWC East, second place. Bondwell beat Auburndale 55-36 to advance to face St. Mary Catholic tomorrow night in a sectional semifinal. And I saw Marathon lose to McDonald Catholic 48-32 on Saturday night. So McDonald taking on Cameron. But Bondwell, the last Central Wisconsin team standing in that bracket.
Yeah, and they're a solid basketball team, as we talked. Got the regional final win on their home court Saturday. But you saw Stratford lose to Neilsville, Auburndale lose to Bondwell, Marathon lose to McDonald Catholic. All good opponents, yet 3 Merriwood teams that made the regional final, which is something to be said about the middle tier of the girls' conference.
There is one Merriwood South team standing, the Assumption Royals, number 1 seed. And talk about an interesting sectional semifinal, Pacelli. 1 loss this season for Assumption, 1 point loss at home to Pacelli.
You took my exact point. They're going to head over to Adams Friendship this Thursday, and we'll see how that all comes into play when that is the only blemish on your record. Because as Assumption, you got to come out, because that one would sting you if you're a true competitor, but it gives Pacelli a lot of confidence in what they're doing too.
And odds are the winner goes to state, because again, I got number 4 Oneida Nation, number 3 Sevastopol on the other side of the bracket. A lot on the line, and I think for a team like Assumption, they were disappointed in sectionals last year. They want to get back to state.
Yeah, as does Pacelli. So I think the strength is in that game, which is always the tough part about this. That's the game you want to see the next night, but the way the chips fall, that's what you got. So go enjoy that one if you're going to watch.
All right. Well, we got about a minute to go here. Any final thoughts? What are you thinking about a huge week here with regionals on the boys' side, sectionals on the girls' side, and state?
The national news cycle never stops, but it can be hard to find news about your local community. Civic Media is dedicated to providing quality local and state news coverage across Wisconsin. With the Civic Media app, you can get notifications about local stories that matter to you and your community. Find the free Civic Media app in your phone's app store and choose notifications from the menu to tell us what kind of news you want to hear about.